Hello everyone, myself Sumit Khalkho, MA second year English. I am preparing for my fourth semester exam, and today through this video I am going to give my presentation for the paper Indian Writing in English. I am really thankful to my professor who has allowed me to give my presentation through online mode. Today I have taken the topic for my presentation is one of the poems of Nizim Ezekiel, and the poem title as Urban. As the title shows, Urban is a poem which shows the mental condition of a man who is living in the urban place, in contrast to the rural area, whereas the urban people have no access to the beauty of nature, as the rural people living in a rural area is having all the natural beauties experienced in his life, whereas the urban people lack this. So that is what he will be depicting here as a realistic poem of nature. If we talk about Nizim Ezekiel, he is one of the prominent figure in English writing, Indian writing in English. He belongs to the 20th century poets, and he studied in Mumbai and London as it is mentioned in our syllabus. He is a Jewish Paris by birth. He is a Jewish by birth. He's not an Indian poet. He did various jobs before working as a professor in Elphinstone College, Mumbai. He has done so many jobs in his life before working as a professor. He was the editor of Quest, imprint and illustrated weekly of India. So in this way, so many works he has done, so much contribution he has for the country. Ezekiel was the director of the theatre unit in Mumbai also. Humor, wit, satire, Indianness, irony, love, and symbolism are a few of his features in writings and of Indian poetry. The Exact Man, The Unfinished Man, and Hymns of Darkness are the notable volumes of poetry of Ezekiel. Ezekiel became the assistant professor of the Illustrated Weekly of India in 1953. He also worked as an advertising copywriter and general manager of a picture frame company. Ezekiel was awarded a Sahitya Academy Award in 1983. In 1988, he received a Padma Shri for his contribution to the Indian English writing. So this is what his work and his contribution to the Indian English writing that we can find of this Nasim Ezekiel as one of the 20th century poet. It's Nasim Ezekiel, that is, and by birth he was not an Indian, but he was a Paris Jews, but he has a lot of contribution for the Indian writing in English. And as we are discussing about the poems today, that is the urban, as I told in the beginning, here it will be showing the problems of a man who is living in the urban. And a poet himself has some experience in the urban society. And let us see the poem about what it is saying. Nissim Ezekiel describes as the poet of the city or an urban poet. He is also known as also this Nissim Ezekiel is described as the urban poet or the poet of city because he has much experience about the city, and he is one way we can see living in the city and looking into the condition of the city, how it is and how people suffer and how the people are deprived of the beauty of nature, that a man who is living in a rural area is having a lots of experience about the beauty of nature, early in the morning, in the evening, and in the noon time. All that experience he has. He himself lived in Mumbai and mostly has written about the urban life. So, as Nissim Ezekiel was living in the city, living in the Mumbai, and therefore he has written lots of poems about the urban life of the people there, and also any other place. And here, the poem that we are going to discuss is Urban 2 is one of his poems about the urban life. This urban here, as we are discussing, is also one of the poem which will be telling us about the urban life of a person or a people. In the poem, Ezekiel describes the urban sensibility and a city dweller reaction to the nature. So, in a person who is living in the city, how is reacting to the nature? As he is not, as he will not be able to experience the beauty of nature in a true manner, in a realistic manner. So, how he is reacting to the nature? The man stands for all the citizens of any metaphor, any metropolitan city. So now here the man who is being described in the poem, or a character that is given, a man's character is given, that this man is symbolizing all the people. He will be representing all the people, whoever is living in the society in the urban area. How is longing to see will see the beauty of nature, longing to see the rural place or rural area where there are lots of nature's beauty and all that. So it will be representing, the man is representing all the people living in the urban area. Now let us see the little summary of the poem, and we can finally tell about this poem. The urban is a realistic and natural poem which will be telling about the urban city or urban dwellers. The city man cannot experience. The poem says in the beginning, as he starts with, the city man cannot experience the company of nature. Yeah, that is true. The poet says the city man cannot experience the company of nature. Who can experience? A person who is living in the rural area, who is living among the nature, who will be able to experience the beauty of nature and all the natural things that is there, and he will have the company of nature in lots and lots of manner. The beautiful hills are far away from him. Here, him means the man who is living in the urban area. So the beauty of beautiful hills are away for the urban area. Urban man who is living in the urban dweller, he cannot experience the beautiful hills. He knows only the broken roads of the city which are tracked in his head. So this urban area, the urban dweller, what he experiences, he can experience only the broken roads, and we can see in the city and all how the crowds and the roads, which is all most of the time we can find the traffic. Most of the time we can find the traffic and lots of noisy and all that is. He cannot find the mental peace in the urban area. For him, the rivers which he loves have become dry, and all the soothing winds and are the dead for him. So, and also it is said that all the things that he loves, the rivers, like rivers, and the beautiful wind, the gentle wind, he is not able to experience in his life as he is living in the urban place. He is living in the urban area. But the one who is living in the rural area, he is always and every time he is able to experience the beauty of river, the water, and the beauty of wind, the soothing wind we can find, the breeze we can find. In other words, the urban man cannot get the pure happiness of the things of nature, that the rivers and winds. And finally, the poet says that the man who is living in the city cannot find the happiness, the pure happiness that he would experience the nature like river, and he would get the happiness, pure happiness, he says. Here, the man or the person who is living in the city is able to just only imagine about the beauty of nature, about the river and about the gentle wind, but he cannot really experience all those things. In the morning, the city man cannot see the beautiful sky. In the morning, as we have seen the early in the morning or just before the sun rising or while the sun rises slowly, at that time we can see the beautiful nature, beautiful sun that comes slowly, slowly, and it has a beautiful color also. But in the city, you cannot experience that, because in the city we find that the buildings are just attached to each other. If you just look out through the window, you will see the another buildings, not any other things. You can see the other buildings and other things, but not the sky will not be seen through you. And how can you experience the beauty of sky, beauty of sun in the morning? Similarly, he cannot feel the shadow of the evening, And as in the evening, we can see as the sun sets, we can find the shadow of the trees and all that in the evening hours. How beautiful it is. So that also the city man lacks and longs to, but he cannot experience all those. It remains as a dream for him. He cannot welcome the sun also, he cannot welcome the sun also. Even if he want to see the sun, then he has to come out of the house and then he go to the place from where he can clearly see the beauty of nature. Otherwise, if in the city, it is also, it becomes a dream only. It is not, you will not be able to see the sun very clearly and as you want. He cannot experience rain also in the city. You can experience the rain, but not in a manner whereas a people who is living in the rural area can experience. A man who is living with the nature and whose company is the nature, whose nature is as his company and he is the nature's company, those men are experiencing all this beauty of nature in a better way. But the man who is living in the metropolitan city is only just dreaming of this, and it remains as a dream for him, and he never experiences them in a real life. He cannot enjoy the beauty of the landscapes. These are the things that the man who lives in a city lacks in his life. The poet says that in the landscape is shapeless. Okay, in is neither, it neither has height nor depth. In the city, if we talk about the landscape, that is shapeless. Always, everywhere, or every where, every places we can find buildings and buildings and buildings and buildings and nothing else. So this becomes the crowd place, and we will have no proper landscapes. It has no shape. But in the other places, in the village, in the rural area, if we go, we can see the landscape, how beautifully it looks, so designed as. Then poet further says that the city burns like a passion because there is not the real things, or not being able to experience the beauty of nature. It is just like burning like a passion, the desire to have all this, but it remains as a dream only. It doesn't comes in reality. Then it does not have a soothing atmosphere. In the city also we cannot find the soothing atmosphere. Okay, always we can find noise and smoke and all that kind of pollutions that has been taking place in the city, and that does not gives you mental peace and inner peace. If there are parks and some other places, then you can go and have some kind of some kind of uh, times to spend in solitude and just get mental peace. But really, a man who is living in the city is longing for this. It remains like a passion for him because there is no proper atmosphere, not soothing atmosphere in the city that we can find, as the poet has described in this poem. The city man only dreams of the morning walk and of floating on a wave of the sea. The city man only can dream of morning walk. But can he really? That is a big question for us. And that is the big question for the poet also, he says about. He can only dream for the morning work, but he cannot really go for the morning work and all. Even though he can go and all, but he will not have the beautiful experience about the nature. And also he can think of the floating in the wave of the sea, but that also remains as a dream for him. However, he thinks of the city traffic away from from the beach. And also he sees about the city. As we can find in the city, most of the time or always traffic is there. So all these things he cannot think more than the beach. Or he is thinking about the beach where there will be so much of solitude and the mental peace he can gain. But here in the city, always traffic and all, he cannot have any better experience as he could have in the beach. And only that he can dream, but he cannot have. Thus there is much difference between the world of dream and the world of reality. And in this way, the poet says there is much difference between the world of dream and world of reality. All that things that the poet is thinking, or the man is thinking in this poem, is that he's not able to experience the beauty of nature. He is not able to see the morning sky. He's not able to see the evening sky. He's not able to experience the rain. He's not able to experience the beauty of rivers and soothing wind and all these things. Here, if we see all this in reality and in the dream, it has got a much difference between that. Reality is something reality and great things that gives us mental peace, but the dream that has only for a few moments, and only we can have in our mind only, but not in the physical world. The dreams is not in the physical world. Hmm? The man's sense of novelty is swamped by the urban environment, and whatever man is thinking about the newness, some new things in his mind, some new things he's dreaming for, is just reminding us a dream for him. And in the urban environment, he cannot get all that. The more he stares, the less he sees among the individual trees. So the more he is staring at all this that he wants to have, but the less he sees all those things because they are far, far away from him, from the city. In the city, he cannot experience all that he is longing for. Thus, we can find the poet is realistically depicts the mental condition of the man living in the metropolitan cities. So here, this poem, through this poem, the poet is depicting the mental condition of the man who is living in the a city, and also this man is representing all the people living in the metropolitan city, and how this metropolitan city people are longing for the beauty of nature, and they are not able to experience the real things that is existing in our world, or existing in the world. Whatever they thinks of experiencing this nature, that just remains in their dream only, as it is mentioned in the poet and we have already discussed. So in this way we can find the urban man's problem is expressed in this poem by the poet. How this urban man faces the problems, how this urban man experience the bitter parts of his life, all that is given and narrated through this poem. So here I would like to stop my presentation. If my presentation was well and good and presented well, or if any query, then please let me know. Then I can come in a better way, and I will be able to bring the better presentation in the next time. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching my presentation and listening to it.